friends. So the question today is, what is a Futurity and Derby? This is something that I have quite a lot of experience in, but I definitely have come from that very simple, easy background of having no clue what it was when I first started. And the reason I learned about it is because my first year of actually competing in the NBHA and the Ontario Barrel Racing Association, I had a Futurity horse. And I had no clue what that even meant. I was like, I think my horse qualifies, but I don't even know what I'm qualifying for or what the class even represented. And I'm going to share that with you in case you're wondering what a Futurity is, what a Derby is, and learning the difference and what it means to you, and if you're looking to buy a horse. So Futurity is the horse's first year of competition. They can either be a 4 or 5-year-old, but there are some races that Futurity has to be a 4-year-old. Or they have specific races, it's actually called juvenile, where if you look at the BFA, the Barrel Futurity of America, they have a juvenile class, and that truly is the Futurity. It's the horse's first year of competition, and they're only a 4-year-old. So that's very age specific, where most races and most Futurities, it can be either 4 or 5. So if you happen to get a horse and it's 4 and it's not ready to run that year, you don't have to use your Futurity year that year. You can wait till it's a 5-year-old and more seasoned, and just gives you more time to get with it. And I know that's a pretty popular option for a lot of people. At the same time though, if you're really actually thinking about getting a Futurity horse and deciding the pros and cons of, do I have it as a 4-year-old or a 5-year-old? This is a very specific answer that is so specific to you and your horse and your circumstances. So a couple things to keep in mind is are you gonna run consistently that whole year? Like, do you feel ready that when you start the season, you're prepared and you actually feel confident with your horse? Because the last thing we want to do with a young-minded horse like that is to put a lot of pressure, put unnecessary pressure on them, and demand things that they're really not ready for. And it's just not fair for you or the horse, because it just won't go how you're hoping. And you might waste most of the year trying to get those training bits under your belt when you could have waited till it was a year older and just had that more experience. The other thing to keep in mind on a kind of contrary side to that is, if you wait till it's a 5-year-old but it's pretty much running ready as a 4-year-old, but you just want to wait, you might not have the same horse by the time it gets to a 5-year-old. And what I mean by that is, you might expo it the whole 4th year, just expoing, not entering it or doing anything. And then by the time it becomes a 5-year-old, it had a whole year of running already and doing expos and going out, that it might be a little blown up. It might already be running like an open horse, and you might get problems that way. I was told Lacey Harmon actually says that you want your horses to peak at the right time during its Futurity year, because Futurity horses are not open horses. Futurity horses, they fluctuate. They have their highs and lows, and us as the riders have to really be accommodating and trying to figure out really quickly what those issues are that they're facing and how we can get them at the best level. You want them to peak when it really matters. You don't want them to start fluctuating, going downhill when you have really big races coming up. So I do see some of that happening, where when you hold your horse back to a 5-year-old, they start having all those problems because they've already kind of peaked, and now you're trying to keep it consistent. And sometimes Futurity horses just don't like that. They don't like to be consistent, and it can be really challenging when you feel really confident, but then you start getting all the problems that comes with going a lot faster and not just expoing your horses. So that's also something else to kind of think and take in mind when you're deciding which year to run your horse. Other than that, Futurity is pretty straightforward. You have a few other entries that you have to do, and you have to make sure that you do them on time. I know Futurity have a lot of different stages to their entries for races, that you have to make sure that you actually do it in the proper days, and sometimes there's even a couple payments you have to do, and they're due by certain days. So definitely make sure you read the rules really closely and not miss a date and have to pay extra, because no one wants to have to pay extra if they don't have to. So that's the Futurity world, and with Futurity comes Derby. So what Derby is, it naturally happens after the horse's Futurity year. Derby horses are either 5 or 6 years old, so it's the year after that ran as a Futurity horse. So it depends on what you did. If you ran your horse as a 4-year-old, its Derby year is now 5, and if it was a 5-year-old, now it's a 6-year-old Derby horse. So it's the second year of competition. This is by far probably one of the toughest classes you can find when you go to the BFA or you see these really big races and they have Futurity and Derby. Futurity can be a hit or miss because they are on horses' first year of competition, but Derby, they're those horses that have been running strong for a whole year already, and they're usually tougher than some open horses. So if you're looking at entering and wanting a Derby horse, know that a lot of times the competition's pretty tough, but it's fun. It's kind of cool to see the horses progressing through the Futurity year, going to Derby, and see how they do in the Derby field, and then after that they're an open horse, and that's where a lot of people that are trainers, you know, like they'll sell their horses after they've really finished off their Futurity and Derby years with them, or they keep them for themselves, which is a problem, but it happens. So I hope this answers your questions about Futurity and Derby. If you had any other questions about it, or you want to learn more, learn how you can get a Futurity horse and just a lot of the other details that come with it, just let me know and I'd love to talk about it more. Thanks for watching.